Hello out there, and in front of you today is the Zero Tolerance 0450 CF. And in today's video, I'm going to use this knife as an example for the method that I go through when I first unbox a knife and evaluate it. And I wanted to make this video with the ZT because I know that I'm not going to be doing a full review on this one. There's so many good reviews out there, a lot of really good information and opinions that are similar to mine. You know, and they're the ones that inspired me to actually buy this knife. So I didn't think there was any need for me to add to all that, but over the course of this video you will probably hear my opinion about the knife in detail anyway, so it should work out for us in both regards. Alright, so a little bit of insight into how my head works when I'm analyzing a knife and first receiving it before I go through the process of cutting with it and using it and you know, doing those first impression or overview videos or even a full review. Alright, so there are two main processes that I go through. The first one is very, very simple and basic. All I'm trying to do is mess around with the knife in the first few minutes that I have it and answer very generally the most basic question of, is this a good knife? That's it. You know, I try to forget what the brand is. I try to forget how much it cost. You know, I try to just generally get an idea of what the knife is all about based on the components and the way that it fits together and the way that it functions, and just judge the knife singularly on its merits. You know, what is this knife going to be good for? Is this an outdoors knife, an EDC, a gentleman's carry, hard use? Like, what's it all about? You know, and I go through every little detail as I'm just playing around with it for the first 5 to 10 minutes. Now, again, it's really important to me to try to separate from the price and the brand and all that stuff, because I'm not the one who decides how much a knife is going to cost, and I'm certainly not the one who decides what design it's going to have, what quality materials. You know, I'm just the person who bought it, and you know, I really want to let the knife try to stand on its own. And this certainly doesn't mean that a knife with lower end materials can't be a very good knife. For example, this knife passed the test within the first 5 minutes. I knew I was going to love this knife, the CRKT Hootenanny. Just love it. You know, 8CR13 MOV, no real expensive like pieces or components. It's just a knife that fits together really well and is smart design and really functional. And I knew I was going to love it. You know, and this is a good knife. It's not an expensive one either, but take that out of the way and it's a good knife. So again, just having that freedom to just look at the knife on its own is really important to me at first. And so what I'm looking at is S35 VN blade steel right here. I'm looking at the carbon fiber handle scales and the titanium. Looking at how aesthetically pleasing it is with the green barrel spacers here. And then trying to get an idea of the quality with this really nice adjustable stainless steel interface. Fantastic lockup. You know, and then I'll spend a few minutes just opening and closing a knife. Seeing the detent. Manual action. Well, how good is the action? Let's see it again. Let's see it again. Let's see it again. You know, really break it in. KVT ball bearings, super smooth. You know, just getting an idea of what everything is about here. And then ergonomically. How is this going to feel in the hand? Is this the grip that I'm going to use when I'm cutting all the time? Because that's one of those questions that you really need to ask yourself, because people naturally just go into like the most basic grip, but that's not always what you're going to be using. You know, that's not the grip you're going to always use when you're cutting. So how are you going to hold it when you're actually using it? How are you going to choke up? Is there a forward choil? Is there not? Let's grip it really hard for about 10 to 15 seconds and see where those hot spots might be when you come across some really good work that needs to be done. You know, what about reverse grip? What about all these other aspects? Open frame. Take a look at everything and just answer the basic, simple question: is it going to be a good knife? You know, I even like to get the T6 screwdriver or T8 and try to loosen the hardware, get an idea. if I need to take this knife apart, is this going to be a pain in the butt, or is it going to just go easily? You know, what type of knife do I have on my hands? And is it going to pass the test? And then I have my basic answer. Yes, maybe, or no. You know, if it's a no in the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's probably never going to be anything but a no. You know, so you really want an answer that's besides those. All right, and then the next step of the process is just really trying to understand this knife's value in the marketplace. All right, trying to really get an idea of the knives that I have that it compares to, the things that I've experienced that are similar, and if there's value in what I have here. All right, and so the first two knives that really jumped out at me in my head when I first held the 0450 were this one, the 0770 by Zero Tolerance, and also this Browse Blades Bionic 2. All right, so you know what I do is just in my head, and then also I'll pull the knives down and look at them in person, is, you know, I'll think about the price point, and, you know, I'll think about, all right, well, what's the differences and what do I prefer? You know, on the 0770, I actually like the carbon fiber a little better. It's better traction. I prefer the LMAX to S35VN, you know, but that's really all that I prefer. Everything else about the knife, about the two knives, I think the ZT is preferable. Titanium, manual action, really, really smooth manual action. Really nice look with the green. I prefer that. Don't really love the clip on this ZT over here. You know, I like the clip on this one, even though it's not deep carry. You know, so a lot of other things that go into the whole, I think we're getting value here. You know, if this is a $180 knife and you feel good about spending $180 on this one, probably feel good about spending the same on this one. Sorry, I just bumped the camera, but we're 7 minutes in. We're going to keep going with it. All right, and then the other knife, bring in the Browse. Well, the Browse has D2 tool steel, which if you may or may not know this about me, but it's probably my favorite steel to use for an EDC. One of my absolute favorite user steels. So that might be preferable, but every other thing about the knife is better in this 0450. Everything. The quality of the materials, the action, every little bit. And so if you're looking at a price point between $180 up here and $160 down here, it's a no-brainer. This is definitely $20 better than this, in my opinion. Definitely. All right, and also when you take into consideration that if you drop the carbon fiber and just go with the all titanium version, they're the same price. Man, you know, so there's a ton of value there when you're thinking about comparable knives. And it won't just stop with the two knives that I pull out. Like, I'll keep going with it in my head with a bunch of different knives. Well, this has this has that. And the reason for that kind of mindset, and for me to be like thinking that way all the time, is if I'm going to give you a recommendation for a knife, or if I'm going to be like really considering purchasing a knife, like, I want to make sure that it's the right knife. And I want to make sure there's nothing else out there that I would prefer, because you have to have value when you're spending $180 on a knife, or $100 even, or $75 even. There's too many other really good knives out there for you to swing and miss and not get the one that's right for you. So that's really what my focus is when I'm thinking about a knife and trying to develop the review, is coming up with something that, hey, if you're spending $180 on a knife, should it be this one? You know, and I can say pretty confidently that if you're spending $180 on a knife, or if I am spending $180 on a knife, I feel good about it being the Zero Tolerance 0450 CF. I feel really good about it. You know, and if there is another knife at the $180 price range that's a whole lot better than this one, I'd really like to see it, you know. And that's sort of the point, in trying to get a good idea of what the value is, because, you know, we don't have a lot of opportunities to spend that much money all the time. Some people do, but I'm not one of them. I have to sell knives in order to buy them, and so I can't afford to really strike out. I have to get a good one. And I really want to pass on that information to you guys. So again, that's just where my head is at when I'm thinking about value. And again, there's going to be a ton of value in a cheaper knife like this too. You know, when you're comparing knives and looking at what everything costs, I mean, for a lot of people, you could purchase this knife and never need another one. And so that's another one of those things that goes into the thought process as I'm evaluating a knife. So yeah, that's really all I have, guys. Just wanted to give you a little bit of insight into how my mind works, into what I'm thinking about before I post a video. So I appreciate your time. I'm glad you watched. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you have a different way of looking at things, I would certainly like to hear that too. Or if you think there's a different way that I should be looking at things, hey, let me know. You know, any kind of mindset that might help me improve the kind of product I'm putting out there would be helpful as well. So thanks very much for your time, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care.